Willie D Live.
Who are some of the artists that came through George's music room that really really impressed you? Like you've seen them all. You've seen everybody from Mary J. Blige, LL to
Yep.
Ghetto Boys to the Temptations.
Yep.
Like you've seen it all. You seen James Brown, the Etta Jameses. We can go on and on and on and on. No artist, nobody doing black music, R&B, hip hop, jazz, blues. Nobody over the last, I don't know, 4 decades or so
Yep.
has been able to come through without even get Chicago especially without having George's music room put the stamp on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So there has to be some that was like, yo, that was wild, or this person is really really special.
Mhm. Well, there were so many, and they came from so many different backgrounds. And mind you, these were teenagers. You know, Mary J was like 17 when she came did the in store with me, a midnight sale for 411. She was so impressive in the industry that the first female black senator, Carol Moseley Braun, showed up at my store at midnight to meet Mary J. Uh,
Yeah.
the Destiny's Child, they were kids when they came to the store. Alicia Keys. I mean, the list goes on and on, that era. And my store became the place because of the things that I did within the industry. It wasn't just George on the West Side. Because of my mentors, I was encouraged to join other trade organizations. I would go to Jack the Rapper, Urban Network, BRE, Southeast Music Conference, Midwest Radio and Music. These were the black music conferences, but they concentrated on records and radio, not records, radio, and retail. I brought the other R with the retail because I would be the only person with a store at these conferences. And I remember telling Sidney Miller, we were at the BRE, Black Radio Exclusive, in New Orleans. And one of the companies was sponsoring a boat ride. And so I went over we were staying at the Sheridan on Canal. I was on the boat, and then I went to Sidney Miller, and I said, Sidney, why am I the only record store at your conventions? And he said, George, you're right. And from that point on, I started organizing, encouraging representatives in third markets to get them stores to come to the conventions and see what it's all about. And then Terry Rossi, who worked for BMG, which was like RCA Records or what have you, and she worked for Billboard before she got there. And one of her last jobs at Billboard was to get the black retailers together in Atlanta at the Jack the Rapper. I'll never forget. That's when I met Tommy at Stick Horse Records, was here in Houston, and Mr. Blues out of Dallas, Barry Beal, Shantanese Records in Detroit, Daz Drive Through out of Camden, New Jersey. I mean, VIP Records, Long Beach. And this is when I first met all these other black record store owners.
At what point did you start the coalition? Because you started a coalition
Yes.
for record store owners.
Well, I started that because hip-hop had started taking off, right? And there was this company called Young Systems. Now, at this time, I'm on the board of NUIR. I became the first person of color to ever be on the board of NUIR. This is Tower Records and Target stores and all of this. 9 members on the board. And I was the first person of color to ever be on this board. And they came up, they started mentioning about this point of sale system. Back in the day, we just had a cash register. There wasn't no barcodes on records back in those days. And so they wanted to convince me to convince these stores, we need to do this system called SoundScan. This is a point of sale system where you scan, and back in the day, I would either fax my sales reports to the radio stations, or they call up and we tell them what's the hottest that's selling. Now, this system gives these people access to my cash register, know exactly what I'm selling and how many pieces of it I'm selling. And the system came out of Atlanta, Georgia. Like I said, it was a young system. And the system cost $15,000. But you can get it, they finance it for you, 15% interest. Bottom line is that wasn't the sticking point in my gut, is that I'm giving you access to my sales. So that's when I started calling other store owners and letting them know, don't buy the system. Do not get on this system. I said, you get on this system, they're going to put us out of business. And then I started getting bad press within the industry. George don't want black stores to modernize. They don't want. He doesn't want them to have the new technology.
I bet you $1 to a donut they used a black person to come at you first. I bet a black person led the charge.
Oh, they did. They did. They wrote the articles in Billboard magazine about me and so on and so forth. But that's historically, that's how it's always been done, you know? And so I organized the National United Independent Retailers. At this time, I think you remember Mary Datcher, who used to work for Def Jam, what have you. She was working for me, and she helped me organize. And Mary Datcher now, she's like a political activist in Chicago. She was working for Bobby Rush, the congressman, and then when Jonathan Jackson just took over, she helped him with his transition into that. But Mary was extremely sharp. She was the first female promotion person that Def Jam hired, and she was like 18 years old. And the first R&B and only R&B artist that Def Jam ever signed was Allison Williams. And Mary wound up going on the road with her. And see, so her background was really sharp. And so Mary came working for me, helped me do my marketing and stuff, because I was developing the store. And so I called all these store owners, group of them. I said, hey, I'm going to get you guys to come to Chicago. We're going to have a meeting, and we got to figure out some strategy. They said, well, how are we going to get there? I said, are you willing to come? So I called my label reps at the different labels. And I told them, I want you to pay the way for these guys to come, and they did. So I had about 7 or 8 black store owners from around the country come to Chicago, and we met at the Legion Hall across the street from my store on Roosevelt Road. And we organized NUIR, National United Independent Retailers. And that's when we started the movement.